What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Adventure Outpost. Another weekend has come and gone, so it is time to talk box office numbers. Two huge new movies for the weekend have dropped. Were they able to dethrone Smile, or is that big old bastard taking another bite out of the box office? We are going to talk about all of that up next. But first, if you could quickly, as always, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, drop a comment down below so we can keep this party going. And now we'll dive into the box office reports for the weekend of October 7th to October 9th. It was a bit of a dip here in the box office this week. We weren't able to continue that upward momentum that we've had for the past few weeks. We dropped 6.8% as a whole over last week for our top 10 movies. If they total up all of their grossing tallies, this is what we get for the weekend grosses. We were 6.8% down from last week. This weekend we finished at $52.8 million. A bit of a drop from last week. Hopefully next week we'll be able to get back on track and continue that upwards trajectory. We have Halloween Ends next week. The week after that sees the release of Black Adam and Tickets to Paradise, a romantic comedy with George Clooney and Julia Roberts. If anyone's going to be able to pull in some ticket sales that weekend, it's got to be them. A little bit of a dip after that for the weekend of Halloween, but then right hot on its heels right after that, we've got Black Panther coming out. We've got our big Thanksgiving movies coming out. Then we've got Avatar. So hopefully we will be on a nice upward trajectory from here on out. But you never really can tell with the box office. And that is true. That is a very true statement. It is completely indicative of this weekend. We had two huge new movies that came out that we were expecting gangbusters from, and neither of them were able to dethrone the horror movie Smile from its spot in number one. We're going to take a look now at the charts. We're going to take a look now at our top 10. In first place, too, still in its second week, is Smile, dropping only 22.2%. That is phenomenal, especially for this movie. If a holdover like that to then also beat out a new family movie and a star-studded David O. Russell film, that is huge. To only drop 22%. Incredible. Smile took in $17.6 million to bring its total domestic haul to almost $50 million for a movie that only cost $17 million to make. That is a huge win for this movie. In only 2 weekends, it is just printing money now. And it still has all of the rest of October to go to really rank up those totals. Not many horror movies out this month, with the exception obviously of Halloween Ends and then Pray for the Devil towards the end of October. But that one might be a little bit too little, too late, too close to the end of the season. This one is really capitalizing on its run so far from the beginning at the end of September all the way through October. This movie, much like Barbarian, is a huge win for horror movies in 2022, and it is just printing money. In second place is the new family film Lyle Lyle Crocodile, taking in $11.5 million off of a $50 million budget. A theme that we're going to be looking at for these two new movies are ridiculously inflated budgets. I don't know in what world we needed a family, just a nice little family movie to cost $50 million. That's absurd. It's insane. And normally that would be a safe bet, because a movie like this, I'm honestly shocked. $11.5 million, I'm shocked. I really thought this movie was going to take number one. I thought, we were due for a family hit. Minions was so long ago. The parents need something to bring the kids to. I thought Lyle Lyle Crocodile was going to do it. Turns out it is not. It is failing on impact right now. It needs to make some huge legs if it wants to start making money here. And then hot on its heels in third place is Amsterdam, another new movie from this weekend. It takes in, even worse than Lyle Lyle Crocodile, it takes in $6.5 million off of a fucking $80 million budget. That is absolutely absurd, especially for a movie like this, which isn't really known for being one that's going to really, this is a movie with an $80 million budget. You had to hit blockbuster status to even begin to think about making money. You had to make over $100 million domestically on this movie just to start printing money. That was such a phenomenally insane margin of error, such a small window to pull that off. And I don't think there was ever any shot of it doing it, regardless of how many stars you had in it, regardless of who was behind the material. That is a huge ask based on that trailer, based on the subject matter. I don't know who signed off on giving that movie $80 million. It's clear that it went to just a lot of the star power in the movie, because watching the movie, there's really nothing in there that makes me look at that and be like, how did this movie cost $80 million? This is fucking insane. So this movie has a fucking astronomical feet in front of it of trying to make its budget back. I don't think it's going to come even close. We might have to start pulling up a new tab on here week to week, looking at our biggest losers of the year and just seeing all the movies that have failed so hard against their budget, because Amsterdam definitely going to be one of those ones. I'd have to say probably in the top 5. That is just, oof, that is rough. In number 4th place, we've got The Woman King in its 4th week, also with a nice little dip, only 22.4%. This movie's managed to have some legs from week to week, takes in $5.3 million for a total domestic haul of $54 million off of a $50 million budget. So it's right on the mark of like starting to become profitable. It really depends on how much they spent marketing wise. So they might still have a little bit ways to go, but this is definitely, it's been nice to see that this movie has had some legs where it's continued to make bits and pieces of money week to week, because that's what it needs to do. That's what these movies need to do if they're going to make back these ridiculously inflated budgets, is you need to have legs. Like, gone are the days right now where you're making your total budget back in one weekend, where like they just try to front load as much as possible. I don't know when we're going to see that again. That might be a ways away. Besides our big, huge blockbuster tentpoles that we know are going to be printing money, the smaller movies need to find some new tactics if they're going to make their budgets back. So you need to start being movies like Woman King, like Top Gun, like Bullet Train, that just have legs from week to week, so that they just continue to amass money and continue to slowly get back and to the point where they're going to be profitable. Woman King slowly easing its way in there. I think this movie, after another week or so, might start to see itself printing money. It's a little shame that it's going to be coming a little too late at this point, because I feel like most theaters are losing this movie at this point. So I don't know how much it's going to take in to really start printing a lot of money. It might just break even at this point. And then finishing us off here for the top 5 is Don't Worry, Darling, in its 3rd week, dropping 49.2%. Jesus Christ. Last week was like in the 60s. This week is 49. This movie is having a tough go here in the box office. It takes in $3.475 million for a total domestic haul of $38.4 million off of a $35 million budget. So this is one kind of like The Woman King. It's slowly starting to get past that point where it's past its initial budget, but it really depends on how much this money spent on marketing. If this is a movie that spent another $20 million on marketing alone, then this movie's fucked. It ain't making itself back into profitability anytime. At the best right now, it could hope that it makes enough to break even. It all depends on how much this movie spent on marketing, which I'm sure it was probably still like a pretty penny, because Warner Brothers, when they were like, we can only market 2 movies for the rest of the year, and they chose this as one of them, I'm sure they put a bunch of money into marketing it. So I'm sure this movie still has a bit of a ways to go before it's printing money. But right now, a decent sign for itself that at least was able to pass its initial budget. Don't think it's going to be printing money anytime soon, but at least you got that feat out of the way. Looking at the back 5 here, what was supposed to be a limited 2-week engagement has stuck around another week. Avatar, in its 3rd week, drops 48.9%, taking in $2.5 million to bring its total domestic haul for this re-release to $23 million. I don't see this movie being in theaters another week. My theater is actually losing it this upcoming week. It got that extra weekend to kind of just, pad out a little bit more of its profitability. Really just continues to go to show that people are going to turn up for this new one. But, a nice little feat for itself. It adds another $20 million to the tank of its freaking insane amount of money that it already made. So Avatar, you just continue to do you. We'll see you in December for the next one. In 7th place, we've got Barbarian in its 5th week, dropping again only some good drop-offs for horror movies right now. We got 22.8% it drops. It takes in $2.1 million for a total domestic haul of $36 million off of a $4 million budget. We've talked about this movie ad nauseum since it's come out. It is printing money at this point. This is a huge win for horror in 2022. It just continues to reap in those benefits. A huge amount of profitability. Good for 20th Century Studios. That is a big win for you guys there. We'll see how much longer you guys have left in the top 10 before Barbarian takes its bow. Dropping in its 2nd week all the way down to number 8 is Bros, dropping 55.7%. Oof. Not good. It takes in only $2.1 million for a total domestic haul of 8.8, or just under $9 million off of a $22 million budget. That excludes all of the marketing that they spent. This movie is another one that's going to go in with Amsterdam that you could put it on 2022's biggest box office disappointments, and it's just shame because this movie was really good. It was one of my favorite romantic comedies of the year. Not that they put out a lot of romantic comedies this year, but easily so far my favorite for the year for romantic comedies. It was really funny. It was heartfelt. It was just a lot of fun at the theater. I really enjoyed that movie. It's a shame that it's not going to reflect in its box office totals, but I'm sure it'll find its way to cult classic once it drops down into more like home video and everything, and it blows up there and more people get a chance to see it that otherwise didn't want to go out to the theaters to see it. And I know everybody's saying all this different speculation and all this stuff about who's a homophobe and why people didn't go see this movie and everything. I think it's a tough call really to make. I mean, you could look at dozens of movies that were supposed to make money that don't make money at the box office, so I don't really think you could blame it on straight people for not going to see your movie. I mean, your movie only made $8 million domestically so far, so I feel like it's not just straight people that didn't go see this movie. I feel like if you had your LGBTQ people that went and saw it as well, you'd have at least $20 million, I'd imagine. So it's not just straight people that aren't showing up to this movie. Like, there's plenty of people that aren't showing up to the movie. So it's just a weird hill to die on where he wanted to just like call out a homophobe, called straight people that didn't go see the movie homophobic weirdos. It's a really weird hill to die on. Don't know if it was the move to make. It only hurts the movie in the long run because now those people that might have been on the fence about going to see it now see that and you say, oh, you're calling me a homophobic weirdo? Like, now I'm definitely not going to go see it. And now you hurt the chances of any type of word of mouth from people to get people to go see it. I've been championing people to go see it, saying it's a really fun romantic comedy. You should check it out. But now, like, after that, I don't know how many people you're really going to get. It's tough. It's a tough moment. He should have just eaten the loss and just understood, sometimes the box office fucking sucks. You could look at millions of movies throughout box office history that are absolute classics now that didn't make any money when they were released in theaters. Shawshank Redemption, widely regarded as the greatest movie ever made, bombed in theaters. So I feel like you just kind of have to take it with a grain of salt when you see stuff like this and just, accept that sometimes the market for where you released it, the small group of people that obviously don't want to go see it, or the large groups of people that don't want to go see it, or however it does, you just have to be like, I made my piece of art, it's out there, it does what it does. Hopefully it'll find itself when it gets out on streaming and home video release, more people will see it, and it goes on to become a cult classic. Because as we know, box office does not totally mean the end-all be-all when it comes to a good movie. As we've shown here, plenty of amazing movies did not make money at the box office. So it is not the end-all be-all here. So hopefully Bros finds its audience on home video. Looking here at number 9, we have another new movie, Terrifier 2. That poster is absolutely terrifying. It is a new movie coming out. It grossed $825,000 off of a $250,000 budget. So that's a pretty solid start there for that movie. It didn't come out in a lot of theaters either. This is a very limited release. So $825,000 is not bad off of that. Also, this is only going off of the weekend. We're not counting Columbus Day for all the totals that it did today. I don't have the time to do all that. I got work and all that stuff. So I have to do the weekend. This is the day. This is when we're talking about it. So this is just for the 3-day weekend. Obviously, if we factor in Columbus Day, that total might be a little bit higher, but that's a big win for them. For a budget that was only $250,000, I'm sure if you add in today, it probably hit over $1 million. So I'm sure that's a big win for everybody involved with Terrifier 2. I'd never even heard of the movie. I have a friend that loves horror movies and he was talking about it, and I was contemplating being like, all right, I'll go see it with you. And then so the runtime was like 2 hours and 28 minutes. And I was like, that is too much horror. I don't think so. I can't watch 2 hours and 28 minutes of that fucking clown. That looks terrifying. But if you did go out and see it, kudos to you. You helped make them some money there today. So big win for you guys. And rounding out the top 10, still holding on strong in 10th place is Top Gun Maverick in its 20th week. 20th week. I feel like for next week's video, I'm going to go back and I want to go back and look and see how many movies recently in like the last 10 years still managed to stay in the top 10 after 20 fucking weeks. I don't think there's many of them. We could probably count it on one hand. But it's insane. Top Gun in its 20th week, dropping 33.2% for its first time ever. Drawing in a domestic haul that was under $1 million, it makes only $800,000, bringing its total to $714 million off of a $170 million budget. This movie is a fucking phenomenon. It is a one-of-a-kind thing. It is. There's nothing more to talk about this that we haven't been talking about for the last 20 fucking weeks. Top Gun is an absolute phenomenon. If you haven't seen it yet, you're fucking crazy. You absolutely need to go see it before it leaves theaters. And I can't wait for it to drop on physical media November 1st so I can watch it and get my awesome steelbook. I can't fucking wait. As always, we quickly run through our top 10 worldwide and domestic grosses. We're going to take a look here at the chart first. For worldwide, no changes for anything. Top Gun still in number one with $1.479 billion. Jurassic World right there behind it with $1 billion. Doctor Strange in third with 955. Minions right behind it with 927. The Batman holding strong at 770. Thor Love and Thunder with 746. Watergate Bridge at 626, Moon Man with 458, Fantastic Beasts at 405, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 still clinging to life with $401 million. Over on the domestic front, not much has changed there as well. We still have all the same movies that have just added some more totals to it. We take a look here at the chart. Top Gun Maverick still in number one with $714 million. Doctor Strange right behind it with $411. Jurassic World Dominion with $376. The Batman with $369 million. Minions Rise of Gru with $367. Thor Love and Thunder with $343. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at $190. Elvis with $151. Uncharted at $148. And Nope holding strong in 10th place with $123,000. Now, before we get to all of our other fun goodies, we like to take a look at all of our fallen heroes. These are our heroes that hung around in the top 10 but have now bowed out of the top 10 and have gone on to their life somewhere else. We take a look here at the chart. We have 3 movies that have finally dropped out of the top 10 in our Gone But Not Forgotten. We take a look here at the chart. That is in a language that I cannot comprehend, and I forgot what the name of that movie was. I apologize, but it spent 1 week on the chart, that Bollywood movie. If you didn't get a chance to see it, sucks to be you, sucks to be me, because I didn't get a chance to see it. Hopefully it will be on Netflix so I can check it out. Other than that, we've got Bullet Train dropping out of the top 10 after spending 9 weeks on the chart. 9 weeks it took to hit blockbuster status, and it now bows out of the top 10. And DC League of Super Pets, having hung on for 1 more week than Bullet Train, it spent 10 weeks on the chart, and now bows out of the top 10. Gone But Not Forgotten, we thank you guys for your service here in the top 10. You did your part, you made your money, and now we will see you later on the physical media release and on streaming. We salute you. Before we go, we have one more chart we're going to look at here today. We are not going to look at our worldwide grosses of all time. Top Gun is still sitting just outside of number 10 in the 11th place. We will keep charting it, but unless we get to anything close to Furious 7, I feel like we're going to take a bow on that chart for the time being. But I will continue to chart that progress and let you guys know if we get anywhere near close to hitting number 10. As well as our 2022 blockbuster status movies, I will continue to chart those ones and see how they go. But unless we get a new one added to the joint, we are not really going to take a look at that chart either, but I will continue to update it as I see fit, and I will discuss it if and when we get a new $100 million domestic opener. But this last chart that we're going to take a look at here, with Smile holding on to first place for its 2nd week consecutively, I wanted to take a look at how many movies were able to complete that feat this year, because holding on to the top number 1 spot consecutively, that is a tough feat to pull off. Not many movies get to do that. With such a crowded slate of movies coming out from week to week, it is really hard to hold on to that number 1 spot. So I wanted to take a look back here and see for this year just how many movies were able to hold on to that title of a consecutive back-to-back number 1 weekend. We take a look here at this chart. So taking a look here at this chart, we have 10 movies so far for this year in 2022 that have been able to hold on to the number 1 spot for 2 consecutive weekends. And we had 2 movies that were able to hold on to it for 3 consecutive weekends. We'll take a look here at the chart. It started all the way back in January when Spider-Man No Way Home held on to the number 1 spot for the weekend of January 21st and the weekend of January 28th. Right after that, Uncharted pulled it off in February with the February 18th and February 25th. The Batman was the first movie to hold it for 3 consecutive weekends in March, for the weekend of March 4th, the weekend of March 11th, and the weekend of March 18th. The Bad Guys held it in April for the weekend of April 22nd and the weekend of April 29th, followed by our second movie to hold it for 3 weekends in a row, with Doctor Strange holding it for the weekends of May 6th, May 13th, and May 20th. Followed right hot on its heels, Top Gun took the lead from Doctor Strange and held it for the next 2 weekends, from May 27th to June 3rd. And then Jurassic World took the baton from Top Gun and kept that good party going, where it managed to hold on to the consecutive weekends for June 10th and June 17th. Followed after that, we didn't see it again until July when Thor Love and Thunder held it for the weekends of July 8th and July 15th. Bullet Train took it in August for the weekend of August 5th and August 12th. And Smile joined the party to become the 10th movie to do it this year when it held it for the consecutive weekends of September 30th and October 7th. So a pretty impressive feat that we've been able to have at least one movie do it every month so far for this year. I wonder if that's going to be able to continue here in October. I don't see Smile holding on to it next weekend with the release of Halloween Ends. It's going to be a curious thing because now this upcoming weekend we have Halloween Ends. So obviously I think Halloween Ends is going to take it number one this week. But next week, hot on its heels, is Black Adam. So I don't think Halloween is going to hold it both weekends. So then you have Black Adam, I think, is going to take number one the weekend after that. I think Black Adam is probably going to do it because the weekend after Black Adam, the only movie that comes out is the horror movie Pray for the Devil. I don't know if that movie is going to have the gumption to pull off a number one haul. I don't think it's going to beat Black Adam. It's one of those ones like it looks like a really good horror movie, but I just don't know if it'll be like too far into the distance at the end of the Halloween season where all these other horror movies have already come out. I think Black Adam might be just the one that's just going to hold on strong for the rest of October. So I think for October, I think we're going to end up seeing Black Adam take it for the weekend of October 21st, and then the following weekend after that, which I believe is the 28th. So it'll be interesting. I'm going to hold on to this chart, and we're going to keep charting this one along as we go through for the rest of the year as well, because I don't see too many more movies doing that feat. I see Black Adam probably doing it. I think Black Panther is going to do it, and I think Avatar is going to do it. So I think we might only be adding 3 more movies to that, which would still give us the whole year, because I think Black Adam would be October consecutive weekends, Black Panther would be November consecutive weekends, and Avatar would be December consecutive weekends. So that would give us the entire year that we had at least one movie consecutively hold number one from week to week. And last but certainly not least, what I'm going to add to here, these ones, you won't see this one week to week. It'll probably only be on the first one of the beginning of the week, of the beginning of the month, which is going to be me running down how my rankings did. If you see, I do have my videos at the beginning of the month that talk about my most anticipated for the month and where I think all these movies are going to land for me. So now I'm going to start adding it onto this one where we'll take a look and we'll see just how I did, if any of the movies landed in the spots that I thought that they would end up in, and just how well my September rankings did compared to the most anticipated. So we're going to take a look here now at the chart. On the left-hand side is the rankings for all the movies from least anticipated all the way up to most anticipated. So we had my least anticipated movie was Honk for Jesus. Then we had Hocus Pocus 2, then Pinocchio, then Bros, Pearl, Barbarian, Clerks 3, Smile, Blonde, See How They Run, The Woman King, and I expected Don't Worry Darling to be the best movie of September. Now, if we take a look on the right side of this chart, that is where all of these movies actually ended up being for me in the long run. And if we take a look at it and see, it is nowhere near what I expected it to be. I actually had, out of the 12 movies that I saw, only 2 of them are actually in the correct spot that I guessed that I would have them in. I didn't get to see all the movies that I wanted to see. I still haven't seen Hocus Pocus 2 yet, just haven't gotten around to it, and I haven't really had any interest for it. Honk for Jesus was a movie that was my least anticipated, and it was very unlikely that I was going to get around to get a chance to see it, so I didn't see that. Clerks 3 didn't really come out anywhere around me, so I didn't even get a chance to go and see that movie, so that one was a tough one for me. But there were 3 movies that I did get to see that weren't even on that list, so they got added to them. It's tough to do these most anticipated, especially with streaming movies, because they'll just drop random streaming movies without you even knowing that they were a thing at the beginning of the month. So it's tough to have added them into what my most anticipated was, because I didn't even know the 2 of them were things until like right before they were about to come out. But we'll take a look here at the chart on the right side to see what my rankings actually were for September. My least favorite movie for the month of September was Pinocchio, followed by the movie God's Country. It was a movie I never even heard about, and then my theater just randomly got it. So I was like, all right, I'll go check it out. It's got Thandie Newton. Why not? Let's watch it. And then if you look, my number one anticipated movie, what I thought was going to be the best movie for September, was Don't Worry Darling. It drops all the way down here at number 10. This movie was wildly disappointing for me, and it did not hold a candle to what I had hoped and expected of it. Right after that is another movie that I had up high. It was taking bronze in my rankings, but now right here on the right side that I actually liked was See How They Run. After that, a movie that I expected to be where it ended up being, and that is the horror movie Pearl. Right after that, we have a double dosage of movies that weren't even on my most anticipated. It was the Zac Efron comedy, The Greatest Beer Run Ever, followed by the Netflix revenge movie, Do Revenge. After that was Blonde. And then we had Barbarian, which turned out to be much better than I had anticipated that it would be. Taking the Bronze was a horror movie that I was super excited for and ended up being so much better than I expected it, and I really ended up enjoying it, and that was Smile. It was fucking fantastic. Holding strong in the second spot where I thought it would be, and that is The Woman King. The movie was insanely entertaining to me. All I wanted was a badass movie where Viola Davis kicked ass, and they absolutely gave it to me. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. It was great. And of course, in number one, the biggest disparity. I had Don't Worry Darling at number one. It ended up being in 10th. I had Bros in number 9th, and it ends up being my favorite movie for the month of September. It was an absolute stellar romantic comedy. I talked a little bit about it earlier in the video about how much I enjoyed this movie. It is a wildly enjoyable, fun movie. You should absolutely go out and check it if you enjoy romantic comedies. It is such a fun movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is easily my favorite movie for the month of September, and it's been a fun, interesting ride for September, but Bros takes the cake as the best to do it in this month. And that'll do it for all of us here at the charts this weekend. It was a pretty light weekend. The Lyle and Amsterdam just didn't do it too much. I did get a chance to see Amsterdam. Definitely was not as good as I was hoping that it would be. The star-studded cast, obviously a lot of players in it, but the story was kind of boring. Christian Bale was really fucking good in it. He is always great in everything. I haven't gotten a chance to see Lyle Crocodile yet. I really want to. I'm super excited to. I'm going to see it at some point this week. So I'm going to have to get around to it. This weekend sees the release of the movies Halloween Ends and Till. So we're super excited to go out and check those movies out. I'm more excited to see Till. I definitely want to see that movie and see how they did with it, and the subject matter is going to be, it's one of those movies I think is going to be a really important movie to go see in theaters. So if you find yourself looking to go check out something in theaters, I know it's going to be a bit heavy, but I think it's a movie that you should definitely go out and check. So go out and check that out. And then of course, everyone, you're going to go check out your horror movie. The finality for right now to the Halloween franchise, Halloween Ends, is going to land, and we're going to see how well that does. So join us back here next week when we discuss the box office weekend for October 14th, and we see just how well those movies did at the box office. But until that adventure, you have been you, I have been me. These are the movies we love so much. Drop a comment down below if you saw any of the new movies this weekend, what you thought about them, what you think of the box office this weekend, and what your predictions are for this upcoming weekend. And until next time, adventure on.